then this gives us a chance to advance in Krishna consciousness. And that's why we pray that difficulties happen. Well, you may not pray that, but at least when they come, we can accept them. All right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Yamuna Tiara Banachari. Yamuna Tiara Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiara Banachari. Yamuna Tiara Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiara Banachari. Yamuna Tiara Banachari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we ask you to pay attention, because after reading the verse and the purport, there will be a test where I will ask some of you questions. So pay attention. So we are reading from the 14th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that correct? Is it? Fourth canto. That's good. Glad to see you're paying attention. Is there a 14th canto on this planet? There might be on Brahmaloka, because there's 1,000,000 verses there. Do you think you could go to Brahmaloka and write down the other 992,000 verses? Take a big piece of paper with you. What's the problem with that? There are on Brahmaloka, but time moves slow there. By the time you come back, we're all gone. There's 1,000,000 verses on the Brahmaloka. All right. How about we read verse 66? Does that sound good? Is that what's up there? Okay. Pramatam Ucher Iti Kricha Chintaya Pravida Lobam Vishayesu Lalasam Tvam Apramataha Sahasyabi Pajyase Kshul Lehi Lelihano, here, Ivakum, Antakaha, Pramatam Ucher Iti Kritya Chintaya, Pravidjalobam Vishayasulalasam, Pravidalobam Vishayasulalasam, Tvam Apramataha Sahasyapi Padyase, Shulelihano Hir Ivakun Antakaha, Pramata Ucher Iti Kricha Chintaya, Pravida Lobam Vishayesu Lalasam, Chwam Apramataha Sahasrabi Padyase, Shuleli Hano Hir Ivakun Antakaha, Pramata Ucher Iti Kricha Chintaya, Pravida Lobam Vishayesu Lalasam, Tvam Apramataha Sahasrabi Padyase, Shule Lihano Hir Ivakun Antakaha, Pramatam Uchir Iti Kricha Chintaya, Pravida Lobam Vishayesu Lalasam, Tvam Apramata Sahasrabi Padyase, Kshul Lelihano Hir Avakum Antakaha. Repeat. I can't hear. Only the birds are repeating. No one else? Okay. Pramatam, persons who are mad. Hear the translation for that? Uche, loudly. Iti, thus. Kricha, to be done. Chintaya, by such desire. Pravida, very much advanced. Lobham, greed. Vicha Yeshu, in material enjoyment. Lalasam, so desiring. Tvam, your lordship. Apramataha, completely in transcendence. Sahasya, all of a sudden. Abhipadyase, seizes them. Kshut, hungry. Lihanaha, by the greedy tongue. Ahi, snake. Eva, like. Akun, mouse. Antakaha, destroyer. Translation. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert, and in due course of time you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Repeat this. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with the desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert, and in due course of time you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Everyone is greedy and makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27, Prakriti kriyamani guna karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks itself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The atheists or unintelligent men do not know this. They are busy making their own plans, and big nations are busy expanding their empires. Yet we know that in due course of time, many empires have come into existence and been destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness. But we can see that in the course of time, these families and empires have been destroyed. But still the foolish atheists do not accept the supreme authority of the Lord. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of the Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of their nation. But factually, these political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. Due to their greed for material position, they falsely present themselves as leaders before the people and collect their votes. Although they are completely under the grip of the laws of material nature. These are some of the faults of modern civilization. Without taking to God consciousness and accepting the authority of the Lord, the living entities become ultimately confused and frustrated in their plan-making attempts. Due to their unauthorized plans for economic development, the price of commodities is rising daily all over the world. So much so that it has become difficult for the poorer classes, and they are suffering the consequences. And due to lack of consciousness, people are being fooled by so-called leaders and plan makers. Consequently, the sufferings of the people are increased. According to the laws of nature, which are backed by the Lord, nothing can be permanent within the material world. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter of the Absolute in order to be saved. In this regard, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Jagnataspasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantirichati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the proprietor of everything all over the universe, and he is the supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful individually and collectively. Now for the test. What are the living entities in this material world busy doing? Can you tell me? This and that. That's part of it, yes. They're doing this and that, and they're busy with the desire to do this and that. And what do? Begins with a P. Plannings. And all the plans they make turn out exactly the way they want them to. Is that correct? No, that's what happens. The greedy people. We see that. Everyone is greedy, and everyone makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman. He's bewildered, because this is the difference between material enjoyment and spiritual enjoyment. With spiritual enjoyment, we understand that God is the root of the tree, and we're all leaves on the same tree. Some leaves are bigger, some are smaller, some are lighter, some are darker, some are older, some are younger. But by serving God, we realize that everyone comes from the same Creator, and that we become the kind friend to all living entities, as Krishna says in the 12th, not just some. We don't say, well, I'll only be friends to some of the people in my race some of the time, as long as they have something I need. Is that a little bit limiting? No, we should make friends with people of all races who have something we want. Is that it? Or should we make friends with all living entities? Because by making friends with them, we're automatically serving Krishna. So when we're serving Krishna, people think, well, the Varnashram Dharma is the different occupations of a trade school. It's not like a trade school. What you're supposed to do is learn how to do your work as a service to everyone. If everyone is thinking, how can people in society do my duties nicely, then automatically everyone gets their rights. If everyone's trying to take all of their rights plus some of somebody else's, then there is discrepancy in society, because each of them is trying to exploit the other. Back to here. So what is everything enacted by? The law of what? The country? Your own law or the laws of nature? Laws of nature. And who is in control of that? Is it you? Is it me? Is it the government? Or is it the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Or E, all of the above? Could it be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Empires have come into existence. So the families try to make the empire go well. And once they establish a big empire, then that country becomes and stays the most powerful in history. Adolf Hitler was going to establish the 1,000-year Reich. How long did it last for? About 6-8 years? Is that 1,000? It may be a couple thousand days, but it's not 1,000 years. What country controlled the most territory of any country ever? Which one? No? Which one? No? 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 It's close to China. Mongolia. Mongolia controlled the most. And that's why today they're the most important country. That's why before China and Russia and America and England do anything, they consult with Mongolia. Is that true? But I thought they controlled the most territory. They did, didn't they? So why aren't they the most important country? They lost it. No, that can't happen. Once you gain material things, you don't lose them, do you? That can't happen. Can't happen to me. But it looks like it did, because it takes everybody a minute. Only the history expert gathers that knowledge out of the cloud bank of nectar to tell us that it's Mongolia. But today, nobody cares about Mongolia, do they? They have a big statue of Genghis Khan, but he's gone. And so many others. The families have been destroyed. Egypt was big. The Roman Empire was big. And all these political leaders just want to make their country good. Or do they want to make themselves good? On the backs of the country. That's what happens. Instead of the leaders trying to... Do you think any of the world leaders did Harinama with devotees yesterday and played on kartals? You think any did? You're wrong, one of them did. I saw the picture. Who could it be? Shall we give you a multiple choice? Could it be Starmer of England, A, Genghis Khan, B, Narendra Modi, C, Donald Trump, E, and F would be Vladimir Putin? Which one? Which one? Which? All of them? No, it was Narendra Modi. Which one got a Bhagavad Gita in Russian? Not Genghis Khan? He got it in Mongolian? He missed it. He got it. That's why books are powerful. In the Moscow Book Fair in 1975, they gave a Bhagavad Gita to the mayor of Moscow. And that was Boris Yeltsin. And when he became the prime minister and communists tried to take over, he got up on the tank and said, "You will not do this as an illegal move." And he'd read how Arjuna had stood up to the miscreants. So he was able to stop them. And that was Russia's big, because it opened up, they were doing more than half the books in the world. Now India is the biggest country. But we see that the leaders make plans, but they only last for a while. They always think that things can only get better. That's why they think that things couldn't have been better in the past. They keep digging up civilizations that they find some places, like there was a structure, a temple 2,000 years old. Underneath is one 4,000 years old that's more advanced, and underneath was one 9,000 even more advanced. How is that possible? Things couldn't go backwards, could they? Have we seen things go backwards? About 2,500 years ago, they had running water in India, Greece, and Rome. 1,000 years ago, what countries had running water? None of them. Does that not mean things went backwards? So the fact that they went backwards before means they can go backwards again. 50 years ago, the electricity worked here all the time. Does it work here all the time? Evidence that things can go backwards. And Prabhupada is talking like the poor people don't get the break. But here's what they tell them. Isn't this true? Don't worry. The cost is going up, but so is your income. So it's no problem, right? It's like saying that you can take a baby calf and lift it over your head. And every day the calf's weight is growing, and every day your strength is growing. So eventually you're lifting a 1-ton cow because your strength grew and the calf's weight grew, so you're able to lift a 1-ton cow. Is that correct? Who in the world can lift a 1-ton cow? I mean, with us. Of course Krishna can, but that doesn't work in this analysis. Who in the world can? But if your strength is growing and the cow's weight is growing, wouldn't your strength be able to lift it? Why doesn't it work? Who can tell me? Somebody has to come up with this. If they're both growing, why doesn't it work? It's just like the income and the expense. If the expense grows and the income grows, why doesn't the income keep up with the expenses? Why can't we lift the 1-ton cow? With a simple explanation, like with the cow, why can't you pick up the 1-ton cow, even though your strength is growing? The what? The proportion. They don't grow at the same rate. If your income grows at 2% and the expenses grow at 5%, looks okay in the beginning. Let's just pick a figure. Let's say that you're making 12,000 rand in a year at some point, and your expenses are 10,000. Now, the income went up 2%. So you're making 2% would be 12,240. But your expenses went to 10.5. Next year it goes to 11 and expenses, and your income went to 12.5. Next year expenses goes to 12 and the income is 12.75. Next year it goes to 12.5 and you're at 13. Next year it goes to 13 and you're at 13.25. Next year it goes to 13.5 and you're at 13.5. Next year it goes to 13.75 for income, and expenses are now 14. And then it goes to 13.75 and expenses are 14.5. Next year it's 14 and expenses are 15.25. So a little bit at a time you get behind. And that is why the system is rigged in that way. The people who make money, for instance in America, from somebody's paycheck, they take out the money for the Medicare, which is your medical expenses after 65, and they take out money for Social Security that you get. They take this out of your income, not out of stock trade or passive income you make from properties or from stocks and bonds. So the richest people said, why should these people get this Medicare and Social Security? The CEO of a company in America, you know how much income he makes in a year? 0. He gets stocks. But if he gets 10 million in stock and sells it, the capital gain tax is much less than if he'd made 10 million in income. And they don't take any out for the Social Security and the Medicare. So even though he's getting $10 million, he's crying because he doesn't have anything in Social Security and Medicare. He thinks, why should the other people get it? It's just like I go down to the ShopRite. They're giving people paychecks. Why don't I get one? Because I didn't work there. So they don't have any money in it. So they think, well, this is an entitlement. Why should these people get it? Because they paid money in. So the poor people have the low end of the stick. Some of them go in and the richest people get the tax break. And so as Prabhupada said here, the poorest people. That's why Prabhupada wanted people to have, you have your own farming. Let's just say you have a tire factory. Or you make something like potentiometers. And then there's no need. Do you eat them? If you have a farm and you grow food to sell, and it turns out it was a mistake, you grew too much food, can you eat your mistakes? You can. The food always has the value, especially if we go staple crops like dal, rice, wheat, because you keep a big container if it doesn't go bad. Things like fruit and vegetables are good, but they don't last as long. So the staple crop is what we have to have. The person who has big containers of rice, wheat, and dal, if there's an economic drawback, they're ahead of the game. And in the developed societies where the food comes from far away, they're even in more trouble. And then as time goes on, when people feel secure, then there isn't so much crime because people try to help each other out. What is the murder rate in South Africa compared to America? Who can tell me? South Africa, they go into many schools and shoot students, maybe 200 a year at schools and bars, and everybody has guns. There's 350 million people. There's over 500,000 personal guns. Many states you can wear guns on your hips. So what is the murder rate in South Africa compared to America? South Africa has 10 times the murder rate of America. 10 times. And how does it compare to Japan? It has 200 times the murder rate of Japan. For every person murdered in Japan, 200 people are murdered here. It's not because all the citizens have guns. But it's many things. People are not trained properly. They don't make enough money. In Norway and Sweden, where the bottom wage is about 400-500 rand an hour, do you think you have much crime there? What do the people at ShopRite earn? It's not 400 or 500 rand an hour, is it? Anybody know? What's the bottom wage here? Somebody has to know. Look it up on Google. Someone look it up. 4,500 rand a month. Okay, so we'll say roughly 1,000 rand a week. And they work, say, 40 hours a week. So we're talking 25 rand an hour? That's less than 400, right? 25 rand an hour, about, right? That's a lot less. Is that enough to pay for expenses? With 25 rand an hour, do they buy an expensive car and a house in Zimbabwe? At 25 rand an hour, we're talking 4,500 a month. So we're talking 54,000 a year, right? So 54,000 a year, if the things sell in some of those places for 5.4 million, they would be able to afford one in 10 years, as long as they didn't have taxes and expenses and have to eat. They could afford it. So you have to add up how long it takes to get something. If you only earned 1,000 rand a week, but gas and milk were a penny a liter, now you'd be doing okay, right? But you see, as the cost goes up, when I was here over 50 years ago, the milk was 10 cents bought you a liter. 10 cents. So I was doing well to sell sets of books for, I used the price in dollars because the rand is worth so little, but I had the two sets, the 35 rand set and the 50 rand set, which means basically 700 or 1,000 rand. So just think the 700 or 1,000 rand, how much milk that would buy. Today somehow they have the harder time selling cents. But just like there, what happens is the value of their work becomes less than the cost of items. So it doesn't sound so good. What happens is the people pretend to work and the employers pretend to pay them. So they don't get much money and the employers don't pay out much. That's why you see people work slow. They're not in a hurry at 25 rand an hour, are they? How much? Some South Africans make more. What does Elon Musk make per hour? Google that. What is Elon Musk's income per hour? And that probably isn't a 24-hour. Can you Google that? What is Elon Musk's income per month? We'll compare that to the 4,500. Can you Google that? What is it? He's what? It must go by the month, though. You have to divide it by the year or the... Oh. Can you get an estimate of his yearly... $90 million? $90 million a day. Okay, $90 million times 20, we're talking about 1.8 billion rand a day compared to 1,000 in a week. So 1.8 billion in a day. You have to make that go by we'll call it 1.8 billion times 7 would be, let's see, 1.8 billion, 5 would be 9 billion, 10 billion, 800 million. Is that more than 4,500? 10 billion, 800 million. That's a few more, isn't it? 10 billion as opposed to 4,000. 1,000 million billion. So it is 250,000 times as much. So he makes, would that come right? Because the 4,500 rand would come to about $200. Say $220. You add that up into 90 million, we're talking about 90,000. Yeah, we're talking about 250,000 times as much. So he earns as much as 250,000 regular workers. Is that a lot more? And most of that is based on capital appreciation. That's why it's hard to tell. But you see what happens is then they get the tax breaks. And the other people don't do as well. But if people farm their own land, that's what the British tried to do. The people farm their own land, grow their own food. They have what they needed. It's much easier if you just pick your own food than if you work over here and have to get to the store and you make money, but it's not enough. Instead of giving you 10,000 rand worth of commodities, we'll give you 4,500 worth of rand. In society, they'd give them a place to live. They'd give them food and clothing. It's like, you don't need 10,000 in food, clothing, and accommodations. We'll give you 4,500 rand a month in cash. And you could buy whatever you want with it. And then they take it out and invest it and save money and make a huge amount. At 4,500 rand a month, can you save and invest? Not much, right? Unless you have an extra income, and that's what comes along. So the poor people have the trouble with it. That's why in Vedic society we want to train people to just grow the food they need. Because the food they grow on their own becomes a lot better quality. So then we look here. What is the ending in this verse? Krishna mentions the Bhoktaram Jagyachapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Santim Richati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and welfactor of all living entities, obtain peace from the material miseries. Prabhupada calls this the peace formula. Who knows what he means in the peace formula? To attain peace. He says that we remember Krishna as three things. Can someone name one of those? He's the supreme enjoyer. So when we go out to try to enjoy things, is it a mistake? Like if we go into someone's house and try to enjoy their house, say you pick a big house at Zimbali and say, this is a nice place, I decided it's mine, I'm going to go and enjoy it. Will you be the supreme enjoyer of that house? Will you have some trouble? The supreme controller. Like I joke with people, I said something's wrong with my phone because it allows me to check the weather, but it doesn't allow me to change it. Anybody's phone allows them to change the weather? Nobody? You can't control it? And then we're all feeling lonely and we need a friend. But who is the supreme friend? That's Krishna. So it's like Prabhupada said that I put this on the Facebook. He said that when we accept the conditions, the difficult conditions come along, this gives us a chance to surrender to Krishna. So that why most of you pray, please Krishna, put me in very difficult circumstances so that I will have to surrender to you. Who prays like that? Sometimes these things come along that are opportunities, just like on Sunday. I gave a talk on the verse where Krishna says, one who's not envious but a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego, who is equal in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied, self-controlled, tolerant, engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence always fixed on me. Such a devotee as mine is very dear to me. So we practice those. The next verse is easy. Sometimes the things come along we don't like. People don't always treat us nicely. People sometimes say rude things. Sometimes we don't deserve it. In Laguna Beach, I used to always get dirty looks. And I was accused of some things I didn't do. I would go places with my daughter and her baby, and people would give me dirty looks. I go places now with my granddaughter and great-granddaughter, and they still misunderstand. They think it's my daughter and granddaughter. But at least I don't get the dirty looks. So they'd be giving me dirty looks. And then my daughter would say, Dad, and they'd make fun of me. And what I'm doing is I'm a single parent trying to take care of a single parent. And instead people automatically assume. That's why the one, I forget her devotee name, but she was a self-help minister called Terry Cole Whitaker. And she wrote a book called What Other People Think of Me Is None of My Business. Sometimes we go out on the Harinama and they see the devotees in saffron, go, oh, those people are Buddhist. Does that make us Buddhists? No? She's dressed in saffron. Does that make her a brahmachari? She can be a brahmacharini, the female brahmachari. But we see that they're dressed in saffron. Does that make them dressed in saffron? She's dressed in blue. Does that make her a nilachari? No. And we have to not judge on the appearance. That's why I talked about the form and the content. Sometimes things appear to be Just like when I went, we were leaving the motel in Miami for me to give the class. And the three guys, Mendotes and Cortes. And I said, Hare Krishna. They said, what? Hey, how could you say what? Then I said, you going to the temple? They said, the what? I'm going, how do you not know these things? Then they said, where are you going? The toga party's in here. Our form was the same, but which one was going to the toga party and which one was going to the temple? Were they going to the temple? I was going to the toga party? But we're dressed the same way. Obviously, we're going the same place, right? But not necessarily. It looked like that. So we have to be careful of how things look, because especially the way the brain looks for familiar things. And the brain tests features. And the brain can fool itself. Just like that's why it's difficult to have a gun, because somebody jumps out from the corner. Do you see the person? Like say Isaiah jumps out from behind the corner. Do I see that? No, first I see an object, then the brain tests it. Then it sees it's a person, then it sees it's familiar, and then you see who it is. So in the meantime, a family member jumps out, you might shoot them. Or somebody who's going to hurt you jumps out, and you're waiting for the features to get tested. So if in the meantime, I point over there, and I say, isn't that one Radhika Jivan? Or isn't that one Bob? And your brain you start to think it is, because I'm giving you the suggestion. So your brain goes along and thinks that. So we have to be careful what we tell our brain, because what we tell our brain, it will repeat. We think certain things, the brain thinks that again. That's why they say it's hard to believe things until you've been thinking about them. People don't believe the things that they don't experience. Just like in Vrindavan, India, in the middle 70s, I told the kids there about the road, the freeway, where you drive 100 kilometers an hour, no cross traffic is allowed. They'd never seen it. Obvious conclusion, it doesn't exist. I made it up. The guy said, hey, you kids, come over and listen to the story this American made up. He said, tell them the story you made up about the road that doesn't have animals. It doesn't have. So what we see at the first glance must be true. We look at the ocean, we don't see any life there, and we can't live underwater. What is the obvious conclusion? There's no life underwater. Isn't that the obvious conclusion? Isn't that what most people would think? They say we're talking about in past ages, things were advanced, but they went backwards. That the ancient kings used to talk to people in a mirror. Anybody here talk to people in a mirror? I saw Madhurya. What do you got on your lap? But if someone didn't know what it was, what would it be? A mirror, isn't it? If you'd never seen a phone before and you see this glass object with something inside, she's talking to someone in a mirror. A phone, what's that? To someone a few hundred years ago, phone? What do you mean? Doesn't mean anything to them because they've never experienced it, therefore it doesn't exist. Isn't that the obvious conclusion? If I didn't experience it, it doesn't exist. That would be a mirror. It wouldn't be a phone. What's a phone? Do you think 300 years ago they talked about automobiles? Did they talk about the internet? No. These are terms they didn't use because it didn't exist then, so it can't exist now. But just because we're not aware of it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know what I stopped believing in? Cold weather. Because I always come here in December where it's winter everywhere else. So I came here in October and it got cold. Then how did this happen? So I had to get a jacket, right? I borrowed one. I borrowed it from Darien and I gave it back in Johannesburg and they sent it back here. Because there was no cold weather in Vrindavan in September and October, I guarantee that. It's cold there now though, right? But I've never been there in winter. It might get cold here in winter, but I've never been here in winter. obvious conclusion, winter doesn't exist because I don't experience it. So we have to remember in these things that Krishna is the supreme controller and enjoyer. We offer everything to him. So when we try to force everything to go our way, do we get things our way? Is there a prayer we can say to make everything go exactly the way we want it to? Who says no? Who says yes? Nobody says either one? Who says they didn't hear the question? Who says they don't want a kilo of gold? Who says they do want a kilo of gold? No one wants that either? Wow. All right, I'll keep them all. So here's the prayer. You say, Krishna, today I have a special wish. Today my wish is that everything happens the way you arrange it to, and I use whatever arrangements are there as a way to serve you. And if I decide I want things to happen the way Krishna does, then I get my wish. If I try to force things to go my way, and the supreme controller and the supreme enjoyer has a different idea who's going to win. That's why the obvious conclusion is that if we don't see we're winning against Krishna and the material nature, then we try to join him. And that's why everybody who goes against Krishna and it doesn't work, they automatically surrender? Not necessarily. We have that with Kamsa. First, Krishna sent the demons. Many different demons came to kill Krishna. Did any of them succeed? That tells you something, right? So then Krishna went to the wrestling match, and Akura said that Kamsa had plans to kill them, and Krishna and Balaram mildly laughed. So when they got there, they brought the big elephant out, and the elephant attacked Krishna, but Krishna killed the elephant. Then the big powerful wrestlers came, and Krishna killed them also. So this would be a good time for Kamsa to say, you know what? I tried to beat Krishna so many times, and it failed every time. They say, if you can't beat them, join them. So would that have been a good time to join Krishna? Did he do that? He decided then to threaten the relatives. It's like if a group of people come here and put guns at your head, then you say, okay, I'm going to kill all of your family members. Would that go over well? 50 people come with guns and point them at you. You say, okay, I'm going to capture all of your family members and kill them. Does it sound like a good idea? So when Krishna, when Kamsa said that he was going to capture the relatives of Krishna, Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda and Vasudeva, and have them killed. Then Krishna gave Kamsa an article of clothing. What was it? Who can guess what it was? What was it? Did Krishna give Kamsa? Is there a picture of it here? Isn't there a picture? See, where is it? Who can point to it? Where is it? Is it here? Is that it right there? Right there? Is that Kamsa? Is that Krishna with Kamsa? Right in the very back. So what article of clothing is Krishna giving to Kamsa? A sock. And what did Kamsa do after getting the sock? What did he do? Nothing, because he died. So does that indicate maybe he should have made a different decision? If he lost so many times? Now Krishna came and gave him a sock. That's all it took, one sock, and he was done. So maybe it's better to be on Krishna's side than be against Krishna. And then we have to realize we're in the marginal area sometimes. We think like, well, 5 days a week I do it Krishna's way. And on the weekend I go out and do whatever I want. That's like the one guy said, that people were complaining that he goes out and drinks on the weekends. He says, yeah, but 5 days a week I don't drink and I go to work. A person says, well, that's like saying 5 days a week I don't do anything mean, cruel, or hurtful. But unfortunately for you, today is not one of the 5. Does that make you feel better? No. I start beating you. And you say, why are you beating? Hey, 5 days a week I don't do anything mean or hurtful. Does that make you feel better? No. So we have to remember the same way. We have to try to surrender all the time. And at least if we have defects, we have to identify what they are. And they're generally like in that verse, we want to be dear to Krishna. We should not be envious. We should be a kind friend to all living entities. We shouldn't be envious if people have something and can do something we can't. Is it, unless it's knife fighting and gun fighting and they're chasing you with one? If they do a better job of sewing deity dresses, I'm sure that the people do a better job of sewing deity dresses than I do. So we have to be glad when people can do something we can't do, unless it's knife fighting and they're chasing you with one. We have to try to lift each other up, help people feel like they can serve Krishna. They just have to act for strength. One person I know, he says, I don't know why my daughter doesn't do well in school. I said, maybe you shouldn't tell her that she can't do anything right. Is that what you tell people? Expecting them to succeed. Hey, you don't do anything right. Well, good, I give up. So this is that we remember Krishna's our supreme friend. He can help us out no matter how much trouble we're in. He's a supreme controller. No matter what happens, he's going to arrange it so that we can come back to him. And he's a supreme joyer. By watering the root of the tree, automatically we're happy. We don't have to go out and get a bunch of money and use that to become powerful and then find women who want to be a companion to my money and think that'll make me happy, right? Well, then you get the artificial intelligence woman, or the woman gets a boyfriend, or you get the artificial intelligence friend. Is this something you can do with only artificial intelligence? No, you can find an artificial husband or wife and an artificial friend without having to use computers at all. There's plenty of artificial ones out there, aren't there? Why do you need to do it on the internet? And does the artificial one on the internet not come to help you when you really need it? No. So Krishna is not the artificial one. Krishna has all the intelligence. Because God is all intelligent and all powerful. That's great. But if God is those things, but he's not all benevolent, then we don't do well. If God is all benevolent, but he's not very powerful, that won't help us either. But God is all benevolent. And at the same time, he's also all powerful. Someone said that if you want to see Krishna laugh, you tell him what your plans are. Now we may have plans to do in Krishna's service, but if Krishna wants something else, that's what happens. I didn't plan to come to South Africa. We came here. It isn't planned that I should leave, because I was worried being here alone. It wasn't like you say, we'll distribute books before Christmas, then we'll try to distribute those in a marathon, and then afterwards we'll distribute what was left. When I was here alone, there was a $20,000 debt, and I knew that if I got in trouble, which was coming sometime, if I got thrown out before the books before I could collect money to pay for them, and there wasn't people here, they wouldn't want to come here with a debt. And if the Swami had left and then the brahmachari, they wouldn't feel comfortable with it. So I knew that somehow I had to make contacts. I had to make a devotees, and I had to pay off the book debt. So the day they found out where I was staying in Lammercy was the day I went to Port Elizabeth and East London. And also the other difficulty for me, which became an advantage for continuing Krishna consciousness here, is Prabhupada did not want me alone, so he kept trying to send people. But they couldn't make it through the border, or they went home, and finally he'd asked Pushta Krishna Swami to come. And when I came back from East London, I'd made one person, Greg Castell, into a devotee, and he was chanting rounds and wanted to work with us. I came back on a Thursday. The security police came on Friday, and they took me in. And I knew I was either going to get shot, put in a jail, or thrown out of the country. I took my visa out of my passport on the Friday. They said, "Where's your visa?" I said, "It's with my things coming on Monday." But I'd made enough money to pay off the debt and have $5,000 worth of books paid for. And I called Pushta Krishna and told him, "You have to be here tomorrow." And he got there on the Saturday. I introduced him to people here, told him about Greg Castell, gave him the car and the books and the incense sticks and the contacts for all of those. So I obviously gave him about $10,000 worth of stuff instead of coming for a debt. And when he left here a few days later, he picked up Greg Castell, who became Gokulendra, first South African devotee to be initiated, and things continued. So I didn't get thrown out of here a second sooner than I was able to pay off the debt, make a brahmachari, and bring people here. Just a few days before, by the time all that happened, I was only here another couple days, and I was out. And so Krishna arranged it exactly in the time, because I knew my days were numbered. I was here illegally, and they wanted to know where I stayed, so we created a fake place, told everybody where I was staying, and they staked that place out. But they didn't see me there because I didn't go there. My written address for ISKCON was 201 Gray Street, the Popat Laukar Starry Shop. But I didn't go there. They'd bring me the mail somewhere else. So I wasn't there. So if we work with Krishna, he arranges the things properly. And we have to try to be the kind friend to all living entities. Like Bhakti Brihad Swami, he's very strict. But he says we give people opportunity, and if they fall down, we have to try to lift them up instead of saying, "Oh, look what you did." See, that's the problem with finding faults with people. Sometimes it hurts. The people it hurts the most are not even the ones involved. Because if you say, "Guess what he did, and guess what she did," I make up stories about you, and it makes you look bad. That may be bad for you, but I may watch that and say, "Oh, look what happens. Those people revealed their mind, and people use it against them." I'm not going to say what's going on with me. And maybe I needed to talk to people about it. But because I was afraid to reveal my mind, sometimes this happens, they end up killing themselves. They should feel that they should be able to give their mind in confidence, and people will be willing to help them out and not share the information. So the people it hurts the most may not, well, of course it hurts the people involved. If you're spreading faults about someone, it will hurt you. And if you're the person that's being spread about, it may make you feel uncomfortable. But quite often it's the people who witness this. And because of this, they're afraid to be forthcoming about it. And then therefore, they don't reveal their mind. So we have to be careful in our actions. It's like Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, to use deliberate spiritual intelligence. We have to be sure of what we're doing. We have to know why we're there. Like one girl said, I go on book distribution to argue. People argue with me. I said, "Are you going to argue, or are you going to sell books? If you're going to argue, you can start arguing and say, 'Hey, today's Thursday.' Doesn't matter what the truth is, you're there to argue. But are you there to argue or distribute books? You have to think what your purpose is, and then fulfill that purpose. And of course, the purpose is achieved by remembering that Krishna is the supreme controller, the supreme enjoyer, and the supreme friend. Any question or comment? I guess we're done, huh? All right, Hare Krishna. You know, what we imagine in our own mind seems more real than what's really going on, but we don't notice it. Isn't it?